welcome back to another 31 Days of Horror, where I watch 31 horror movies I have never seen before during the 31 days of October. Today is going to be sort of a double feature review, mainly because the first movie, I have seen it previous to my viewing, so it doesn't count. But I figured, hey, why not? I will, talk about it and give you a little review, make it short, but then go into the second film. The first film I watched was the 1978 picture Blue Sunshine. Classic. I love this film. Basically, it's directed by Jeff Lieberman, who's done a few really good films. Scream Factory seems to love him. He's done Just Before Dawn, which if you haven't seen it, I do say, track it down, check it out. If you like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Wrong Turn type films and Deliverance and all that kind of stuff, it's along that vein, and it's really well done considering how old it is. Well, Texas Chainsaw Massacre age, so I guess age really has nothing to do with it. He's also done the film Remote Control, which you may remember me having picked up a while back, because he put it out on DVD, only available from his website. But he's also done a film that I love, absolutely love, Scream Factory release. If you want to check it out, it's called Squirm, about killer worms. Love it. I've seen it probably about 40 maybe times, maybe more, if that says anything. It's one of those things, along with was it The Food of the Gods, which I believe I just heard that Scream Factory is releasing that as well. Love that movie too. Food of the Gods 2 is actually shot where I went to university. A little bit of trivia tidbit there. But yeah, so I used to watch both that, Squirm and the Food of the Gods, all the time. It was always on television here, and I grew up watching it like all the time. It's just one of those things. Who's in the film, right? Who's in the film? It's got a guy, you may know him, you may not, you may recognize him if you saw him, and his name's Zalman King. Now, unfortunately, I didn't think he was a very good actor. He's the main character essentially in this film, trying to track down what's going on. But I had no idea what he was thinking, his emotions were in this film. It just his facial expressions and the way he acted, and his body movements and the way he talked. I didn't know if sometimes he was scared or sometimes he was. What is it? I don't know. Honestly, I just didn't know what his emotions were, and that was one of the problems. Well, that's actually the biggest problem I have with Blue Sunshine is the main character who you're following you don't know why he's doing anything. You don't know why he's acting the way he is, why he's reacting the way he is, why he decides to do things, because really there's nothing in his. He makes these weird faces. And I'm maybe as a guy, that's the face he makes. Say when he's scared or when he's confused or when he's coming up with an idea or he has a clue or something, or he gets whatever. I don't know. He just makes these weird faces, and I have no idea what the emotion he's trying to portray is. And unfortunately, that's kind of That's the problem with this film, in my opinion. The rest of it is okay, but yeah. Essentially, if you don't know him, he's got if you went to IMDb, I think he's got 40 some odd acting credits and 36 credits in both producing and directing. So he's a very, very active person in the film world. Like I said, if you saw his face, you might know him, because you're probably not going to recognize the name. Also in it is Deborah Winters, who's really not done much. Not before, not since. But oddly enough, she happens to be in a film that I picked up from Value Village without knowing anything about it. It's a made-for-TV movie, and you may remember it from the pickup, and that is Tarantulas, the Deadly Cargo. This is one of her only other credits that, as far as IMDb is concerned, and I just happened to pick it up this year. So maybe I haven't watched this yet. Maybe it'll show up on the 31 Days of Horror later on. You never know, right? The last person who I would hope you recognize, is Mark Goddard. He is essentially, he's mainly known for, I guess, television series, including Johnny Ringo, The Detectives, Many Happy Returns. He was in all of those. But, I mean, for more modern audiences, for people who are into genre stuff, you should know him as Major Don West from Lost in Space. This is where I would like to play the music, but if I did, YouTube would kill this video. But what are you going to do? Anyways, what is Blue Sunshine about? Well, it's sort of an anti-drug picture, actually, if you think about it. It's essentially what happens is there's a bunch of these really crazed out, bizarre murders going on, where people, essentially, the first signs are they start going bald, and then boom, once they're like, their hair totally falls out, they just like snap or something like that, and they go all bizarre, and then they just kill people. So it's like the bald-headed murders or something, I guess. That's probably what they would have put it in the the newspapers, bald-headed murderer. They just turn into these homicidal maniacs after they've gone bald. And the only thing that's essentially linking them all together is that 10 years previous to these murders, they all took this LSD thing called Blue Sunshine. And that's essentially the entire movie. But it's so good, between the acting of some of the other characters, especially the ones when they go crazy, the idea of the story, the LSD thing that's going on. It's though I've just sort of told you what it's about, it's hard to describe the movie without saying it's, related to drugs, or what, LSD or anything. So really, I'm sorry I gave it away. I should have said spoilers. Maybe I'll put a spoiler thing at the beginning. I usually don't give that much away, but most of the film is essentially it's Zalman King's character trying to figure out why these people are doing it. What's the common factor? Because he's sort of been not framed, but because he was involved where all these people were killed and sort of fled the crime and is always on the run. Everybody assumes that he's the killer, so he's trying to right the wrong, and figure out what's behind all of this and the reason for it, and essentially let the cat out of the bag, I guess. So there is a little bit more to it, but I'll let you watch the movie so you can figure out what. So the second movie I watched, and the addition to my 31 Days of Horror, it's possible I've seen this movie before, and I'm going to look it up and just double check if it's been on any of my 31 Days of Horror. I checked my collection. I don't have it on Blu-ray. I didn't have it on DVD, except for in my pile of ones to watch. But sometimes, unfortunately, sometimes movies I watch do end up sort of making their way back into that collection, and I don't realize it until it's too late. So it is possible I watched this movie before. It's also possible I saw it on television. But one of the criteria for this is if I don't remember ever having seen this movie, then it counts. And I'm not talking about I don't remember having seen it before, but then I watch it and then I'm like, no, I have seen this movie. No, then it doesn't count. Then it's an honorable mention, much like Blue Sunshine, because I will finish watching it. But if I watch the entire movie and I get through it and go, no, I still don't remember it, then it counts. problem with Monster is it's such a generic and low budget and stuff like that. It's like, I don't know. It's just not memorable. So, unless I've written it down somewhere or done something with it, I just don't remember seeing it. So, if I have seen it, I will put a little thing here saying, disqualified, gets an honorable mention. Otherwise, it counts. And that's the best thing. So, it's a movie called Monster. It's from 1980. It's been under a few different names. I think it was released in the US as the Toxic Horror first. It's also been released as It Came from the Lake. The DVD or initial release was called Monstroid, It Came from the Lake. And the version I watched was called Monstroid. So, if any of those titles ring a bell, that's the movie I'm talking about. It was directed by Kenneth Hartford. Complete unknown, really hasn't done anything. It stars a few people. One guy, James Mitchum. According to IMDb, he's got like 35 credits to his name. I have no idea who he is. I didn't recognize most of the stuff he's been in, and didn't really recognize his face. So, if you know who he is, hey, awesome. He's been in quite a bit. But I didn't know. There's also... who else was in it? There was... Oh yeah, James Mitchum is also goes by Jim Mitchum, if that rings any bells to anybody. Yes, there is also Philip Carey is in it. He's been in a few movies, bits, roles here and there. Well, he's actually been in quite a bit. In terms of film, you probably most likely know him from, I think it was 1950 something, or Calamity Jane is the name of the movie. Is obviously a Western. But what he's mostly known for is television. He is a big-time television person. Tales of the 77th Bengal Lancers. That's a really old television series. Don't know if many of you have seen it. Philip Marlowe, you may have seen some of that, or maybe your parents did, depending on how old you are. I don't know who's watching this video. Loretto, you may have seen that. That would have been, well, you'd probably be my age now if you watched it at all, or older. But modern audiences would, well, if you watch soap operas, would know him as Buck Buchanan from One Life to Live, which would be his latest stuff that he's been in. But the one name from this film that you would, if you don't recognize this name, you can't be watching my videos anymore, because we cannot be friends. And that is John Carradine, one of the big, well, you know the Carradine name, right? Where would you know him from? Let's see. His big movies that he was in. The Ten Commandments, maybe you've heard of it. Stagecoach? No? Maybe so. Biggest one he probably is known for is The Grapes of Wrath. Very popular book. You may have studied it in school. I don't know. But he has also been in a lot of genre movies, a lot of old genres, B-movies stuff, much like all the Carradines. That seems to be their thing. But here's some. I'm gonna throw some titles out at you. Maybe you know them, maybe you don't. The Ice Pirates. Yeah. The animated film The Secret of Nim. He was the Great Owl. He did the voice of the Great Owl. No? Maybe? Maybe you've heard of what else? The Howling. He was in The Howling. And I'm not talking like a small role. He had a major role in that. Silent Night, Bloody Night. Again, another movie that you should know that he was in. A film you may not know, but if you're really a fanatic horror fan, Frankenstein Island. He was Dr. Frankenstein. Anything? Let's see, is there... anything else he's been in? Well, yes, the dude's got like 100 credits to his name. Unfortunately, I believe he passed away in late 80s, early 90s, so rest in peace, Mr. Carradine. You will be missed, but your legend lives on in a slew of awesome genre and non-genre movies and television. He's been in everything. He's one of those guys. He was in the Kung Fu television series, not as a major player. I think he was only in a couple of episodes, but it's like anything, right? When you're an actor, unless you're the main role in a television series, you usually pop up and, like he'd be I don't think he was ever in it, but it's possible. He could have been in an episode of X-Files just as one of the characters, right? You never know. So, back to the film, now that I've gone over everybody who's in it. What is it about? Well, it's essentially an anti-corporate, polluting, it's the little guys versus the big guy type thing, except this time the little guys, being the news media and all that, they're getting shut down. They're getting pummeled by the big corporations, who are essentially dumping industrial waste into the local water supply. But here it is. This all takes place in Colombia, and it's a small rural Colombian village, and believe it or not, it's based off of true events that happened in June of 1971. I'll leave it up to you to figure, if you watch it, to figure out where the true events come from, what it would be the true events that they're using to make this movie, because essentially what happens is, little guys versus the big guys, industrial waste. Well, they're dumping this pollution into a nearby, lake water source, and that awakens the Monstroid, this really B-movie, horrible sea serpent of a monster, comes out to seek revenge and kill people. Unfortunately, it doesn't really distinguish between the harmful big corporation guys and the little, people from the village so much. Kind of does, but it doesn't. They try and make it seem like it, but I don't think the monster is really making a conscious decision. At least he doesn't seem to in this movie. So, yeah, so he's just killing, and so things have to be stopped, and, much like, Godzilla and some of the stories that come out of that, the smog monster and such, this is that type of a story where, pollution is created. I don't know if it created, I guess you could say it's assumed that he created this monster, and this monster has come back to right the wrongs that have taken place. Or, well, he's not come back to right the wrongs. He's just come back to kill. But in doing so, people, this disaster is into the media. It's more people get to know it. Not just this little village anymore. The country knows. The world knows now about what's going on here. And so, hopefully it leads to a happy ending, though they don't, you have to watch the movie to find out. But yeah, like I said, Blue Sunshine, Monstroid, not so much. It's not a very good movie. I was actually surprised. I would think, and this is where I actually thought I had seen it before, when it was kind of maybe or maybe not. I immediately checked to see if it was on Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I did not see the title listed anywhere in any way, shape, or form, or any of its forms that I could look. But it's the kind of film that it fits in with their style. I would have expected them to have done it. If not, they should do it. Maybe some of you who are big fans know better than I am. I have not seen. I've seen a handful of episodes and stuff like that. So I'm not a huge fan, so it's not like something I can pick up. But that's kind of where I thought I had seen it. But if you're a big fan of Mystery Science Theater, and you know that they've done Monstroid or Monster or what are the other names? The Toxic Horror or It Came from the Lake. I think it has like 3 or 4 other names that it's known by. If you know they've done that, then let me know, and maybe that'll help me jog my memory. You never know. But yeah, it's a bad movie. And one of the things that the reason why I watched them back to back, the reason why I rewatched Blue Sunshine during this month, is because I wanted to get them out of the way because they both showed up on the Elvira show, and thus, that's right, I watched it from one of the DVDs of Elvira's Movie Macabre. That's a double feature. Each one is a separate DVD, and if you don't know the Elvira DVDs, or Elvira in general, or the Movie Macabre, hopefully you know who Elvira is. But the Movie Macabre, she was, Elvira's the host. She comes in, introduces the movie, puts out to commercial, and, comes back from commercial, with these little gags and stuff like that. And the nice thing about the DVDs is you can either watch the movies in their entirety with Elvira, or with Elvira, complete with all of her little gags and jokes and her breasticles. Yeah. The boob jokes are there, folks. That's what she was known for, right? Let's be honest. Well, that and her big hair. Big hair. A lot of big when it comes to Elvira. Anyways, guys, take care. I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Until the next 31 Days of Horror review. I don't know what to say now. Picture of boobs.